I am so excited to be speaking with two of Vogue's favorite wedding planners, Marcy Blum and Melissa Sullivan. How are we feeling?
We're feeling great.
Fine Tuesday morning. Welcome to the show. I want to know if you two have ever met before.
We have.
Yeah.
Apparently, I said something funny to you. I hope it was funny and not.
It was hilarious.
What wisdom did Marcy dispense?
Well, we had become friends on Instagram first. Mm-hmm. It was really nice. I think you reached out and just said nice things.
I remember now you are doing some beautiful work, and it's so interesting and innovative. I was like, somebody knew. How wonderful.
We finally met, I think it was last year, at a networking event planner party. And I said, Marcy, it's so nice to finally meet you. And you said something funny like, my new friend and competitor. I'm not sure how I feel about you yet. It was just hilarious.
I said, my editor retired 5 years ago, so everything just comes out with that.
I was honored, actually.
Thank you. And I appreciate competing with you. That is okay. Unlike some of the planettes, as I say. Yes.
Planettes is amazing.
I like that.
Dodie Kazanjian, our art writer, did a piece like 15 years ago on the women who worked at Gagosian called the Gagosian.
That's hilarious.
I
know a lot of them. Yeah, that's great.
I want to hear, Marcy, how and when you started your career, because I was reading last night and I was like, I didn't realize that Marcy started as a chef.
I did. Well, I went to Performing Arts High School, Fame, and was working as an actress, working as a waitress, but I was an actress. And then, believe it or not, myself and 20 of my friends bought a farm in Vermont.
Oh, my gosh.
It was 1970 in lieu of college. And we went up there and, as I always say, planted vegetables upside down for a year. And then we said, okay, this isn't working. Came back to New York. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mother was a great cook, and I started taking a lot of cooking courses, and I went to Cordon Bleu in Paris and loved it even more.
Oh, wow. Real Julia Childs.
It was really amazing. And the Culinary Institute of America had started accepting females. So there were 50 of us in the first year.
Wow.
It was kind of fun. Yeah.
That's exciting.
It was. And I, worked as a chef. I'm a good cook. I was a terrible chef. I'm really not very good at making the same thing every day taste exactly as it did the day before. So
that's an interesting distinction, and I think there is a real one: a good cook,
fun.
but not a good chef.
Yeah, it's not fun,
Yeah.
And so I was teaching cooking. I was consulting. My ex-husband, who we're still very good friends, and we owned at one point, 6 restaurants, including Gage and Tollner in Brooklyn. I was there for Gail Simmons' birthday party, and I kept saying, everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I used to own this place. It's so weird."
Crazy.
And people started asking me if I could do events outside of the places I was working.
What was the first event you planned top to tail?
The very first one was I put an ad in New York Magazine, and some very kind person hired me for probably $10, and I planned a wedding at a loft in the West Village.
So you went out of the park with weddings?
Corporate events and weddings, but the very first one was a wedding.
What year was your first wedding, Marcy?
86.
What year was your first wedding?
Be careful.
2010 is when I started.
What was your path to planning?
I studied here in New York City. I went to FIT, and I had a college internship with Colin Cowie, who's another planner here in New York, and that turned into a job for 5 years. And then I moved to California, worked for 2 others, and then post-COVID branched out finally and started my own business 5 years ago.
You worked for Mindy Weiss in California.
Yes.
What was a lesson Mindy taught you?
She has the gift of gab in a way like no one else. And it was so interesting watching her connect with her clients in a really deep way, which I think has really helped me to make like intimate connections. So
what has been the biggest change in the wedding industry in the last 10 years and 20 years?
I just read something in the Times last week about, what a new trend to personalize your wedding. I was like, are you kidding? That was 20 years ago. Okay. So I think 20 years ago, it went from being a formulaic, first dance, cake cutting, blah, 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 to how does it evoke who you are?
What's an example of that?
Signature cocktails originally, which now seems like, are you kidding? But then it was as if, I invented the moon. I was, what a great idea.
What was your first signature cocktail you ever did?
Oh, I'm sure it was a martini that we called something else, like the, the Mr. and Mrs. Fluffle-Teeny, whatever. And I was like, I'm brilliant. And then monograms and things like that. That became really, it was all personalized. But I think now, in the past 10 years, it is maybe not exactly who you are, but who you'd like to be is more of what is happening, how you see yourself in the best case example or the most creative example or the most arty. And I say it all the time, I think creativity is the new flex as opposed to money.
Interesting. What's an example of creativity versus just spend?
We just produced a wedding for a wonderful couple. She's a singer. They're in the video game business, and it was in the Hall de Lumière downtown, which is a video mapping establishment. And the wedding really took place in a big part of their video game, like all video mapped, So it was very, very cool. And, a little bit of Ren Fair, a little bit of
God.
people at costumes. We had a costume shop for the guests.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sure
That's
Melissa
cool.
will say, everyone's bored by wedding. People they get an invitation. And unless it's from one of us, and it's not just the two of us, there's let's say 20 of us. Unless it's from one of us, they're like, oh, God, please don't make me, have a holiday weekend at someone's wedding, because they're boring.
Oh, well, that's a good etiquette question that I was just discussing with a younger friend who's on her wedding circuit in her early 30s. Yes or no to a wedding over a holiday weekend?
This is not to name drop, but it's just so funny. Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick's wedding 37 years ago on Labor Day weekend. And I still remember how pissed off people were coming in from the West Coast. They were like, you got to be kidding. It's Labor Day weekend. So I think it really depends on, how close your friends are and who they are. If it's a tight family and friend unit, people are perfectly happy to spend New Year's Eve even. That's great.
Yeah.
They don't have to look for something else to do. If you're going to invite people you work with and your boss and people like that, they are extremely annoyed, I think.
What do you think,
agree.
Melissa?
It's such a mix. I think, I don't know, a lot of our clients maybe have friends that have really busy jobs, and it's nice, especially if it's destination, so that people can get the time off. So,
That's a good point.
And to your point about New Year's, people are really happy. They're
Yes.
like, oh, great, I don't have to buy tickets to something.
Yes.
I'm always happy to work on New Year's. I was like,
Me too.
I think New Year's is a real exception where
Yeah.
I always think it's okay to have a wedding or a birthday or an anniversary on New Year's because people are desperate for something to do.
Yes.
I think that I'm really divided on like a 4th of July wedding is asking a lot because a lot of people have family traditions. They're
or they've
doing
just
things.
rented their house that they paid a fortune for.
But if you are working, to have that cushion day, if you have to travel, is huge. So I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with asking your friends before you decide on the date, the
Yeah.
people that you really want there.
Yes.
Rather than sending it out and hearing that the people you want there can't come or don't
I mean,
want to.
I do find anecdotally, some people will pick a destination for a wedding thinking people will say no, but then everyone comes.
Everyone happens every time. Do you agree?
Yes.
I'm like, don't do it because they're all going to come and you're going to be sorry.
I know.
What's the craziest location you've ever planned a wedding?
Even in California, at some of these private homes, I have to say, they can be so difficult to load into and logistically challenging. It's not always, St. Bart's or having to deal with flights. Sometimes it's for completely different reasons.
I would say Montenegro. Montenegro was really tough.
What was hard about it?
Getting anything there.
Okay.
And I always say I still have table linens that I bought that are in Romania somewhere. I was like, it's the wedding version of Chopped, where they hand you a box of stuff. Here's what came through customs: a candlestick, 3 napkins, and one of your programs. Go.
That's insane.
So that was rough. But anything overseas is definitely tricky, especially with the tariffs now.
That's hard.
Yeah, how has that affected things?
Terribly, of course. Well, if you ship things from England, which is not in the EU, to Italy, hello, education. They're like, we don't know what the taxes are going to be. And they'll look at it and go, $8 million, right? And so you don't know what to tell the client.
Everything has just gotten really expensive. Even flights for us right now. I mean, I don't know if you're having
Same.
this experience, but our staff travel budget has changed so dramatically for a wedding we're doing in France. And it takes away
Agreed.
from a lot of the creative fun things that you can do.
Right. There's only one pot of money. It's not like, here's for travel and
I know.
here's for your
Just
staff.
spend more. It's not always like that. We're shipping in welcome bags for a wedding that's actually this weekend from India. And I don't know, we're spending so much more on shipping than I thought and taxes. And it's not fun.
No, I know my best friend and her husband haven't been to France in a long time. They live in San Miguel now. And Bruce used to live in France and they wanted to go. So I said, let me give you the miles. So you can go first class, business class, whatever. It was 2 million miles.
Oh, my God.
I was like, whoa, that was a hell of a present I gave you. So everything, it's can you rely on miles?
I am curious what it's like booking a headliner for a wedding. You had Snoop Dogg perform in Dubrovnik.
Wow, you are amazing. You should do this for a living, Chloe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does that process begin? Are you reaching out to people?
So, yes,
Are the bride and groom reaching out to people?
We wouldn't let them do that. Are you kidding? We'd never get a headliner. The process of getting a headliner, by the way, and I'm sure Melissa knows this, is not at all what you would imagine. You have to make an offer. You call the agent. They'll say, make an offer and we will get back to you. So it's like, pin the tail on the price. If you say, 500,000, they'll go, ha, 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 don't even consider. I was like, can you give me?
Give me a window.
A window. No, and you just keep going back. And then, and some people like James Taylor is absolutely lovely and delicious to work with and fantastic. And, and there are other times you're like, wow, I don't know. We just spent, $1 zillion and I'm not sure anybody got it.
What's the craziest rider you've ever gotten?
Oh, we're working on one now, and I can't say who it is, but it's.
Give us a specific of what's in it.
What's in it, interestingly enough, is
like Nerds gummy clusters.
Very, very specific details on what the entourage or crew can and will eat.
Well, that's nice. I like
it is nice. I
supporting
appreciate
your entourage.
that. Yeah,
okay,
agreed.
That's nice.
Considering I never feed my staff. No, they don't eat anymore anyway. So
Just like shoving a roll in your pocket.
Exactly right.
Whenever you have a moment. My experience has been a little bit different, but it is a dance. It's a weird dance of back and forth. I try to get a baseline from the agent just so that you know what ballpark you're working in. Craziest rider, sometimes it's the amount of people that they need to bring in, especially if you're working in a different country.
Travel, et cetera, private. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Agreed.
And if you're working in the Bahamas, you have to get work permits for everyone. And sometimes, and as the producer, you have to justify why they need like 30 wardrobe assistants.
Wow.
And why nobody on the island themselves would be capable of doing that gig because otherwise they're not going to let you in.
It's very complicated.
Yeah.
I love, Marcy, that for LeBron's wedding, the invite didn't have a date or a time.
Thank you.
And
that wasn't a mistake. We did that on purpose. Although in the beginning, I think I had done one, 39 years ago that probably didn't have a date on. You're like, oops.
What are some of the wildest measures you've taken to protect clients' anonymity or, keep secret where or when the wedding is going to be? Have you given a false address?
No, I haven't done that. I should consider that. I think, basically not giving any information until the person calls this number and you vet who it is.
It has to be a voice call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Kind of like wiring money these days, where you don't allow anything to be done on the internet, right? So it has to be a voice call. It's interesting, and we all talk about this. It's always someone's cousin. Just because they're rich and or famous, that doesn't mean the people they were raised with in like Akron, Ohio, have any idea that, not to tell TMZ that they got. So that is what you have to be concerned about.
Where do you think Taylor and Travis are going to get married?
Do you have a guess?
I don't know.
Oh, that means you do know.
No, I don't know.
I think I have had all sorts of ideas about it, tons of ideas about it. I think it's in New York. I really do. And I had this fantasy, which I don't think is true, but I thought, how cool would it be if it was a Gracie Mansion?
I don't think that's true.
I know, it's not true. I thought,
has a wedding ever been there?
Years ago when Ed Koch was mayor, we did some, he was very close with my family and my ex-husband and my brother. And so I've done bat mitzvahs there, but never a wedding. But it has that fabulous lawn. I thought, what a brilliant PR coup that would be for Mom Donnie, because everyone loves Taylor. I was like, across the board, that would be it.
If the mayor's office is listening.
That'd be amazing. I assumed it would be somewhere in the South in a kind of nondescript area, just really quiet. I don't know.
I don't know either. I've tried, only because for my own satisfaction. I work at Zero Bond. That's where my office is. So apparently, right when I left last week, they came in. I was like, I'm coming back. I don't know what I was going to do, but.
Are you sure you don't want to change planners?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wedding planning becomes very intimate. You basically become a couples therapist before they're getting married. Do you have any tricks about how to navigate premarital discontent?
Well, hopefully it hasn't gotten to discontent yet. It's some LAs, but not. I've been in therapy my whole life, right? So hopefully that's given me some tools more than chefing. It's all about respect. Right? I know that sounds trite, but it really is. Nobody cares if you say like, I hate pink, but it's different. I hate pink, but you're so stupid. I can't believe you picked pink again. Is a totally different conversation, right? If you just stay respectful and know that, you're going to be with the other person's family for the rest of your life, hopefully as well. So, Don't be nasty to their mother about what she's wearing. So I really think be kind. And I will talk to them separately. I try to go, can I have a call with you?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And sometimes, not they don't always love it, but I feel, I gave it my best shot. I'm just telling you as, someone who's been around longer than you that I really think, this is an example of how your partnership is going to go.
Yeah.
So let's try to do our best.
Isn't it interesting when you have to get yourself involved?
Oh, yeah.
And what's an example of when you've had to get involved?
A bride and her future mother-in-law were really not getting along. And the mother-in-law was calling us, trying to change certain decisions. And then the bride would call us and say, don't listen to her. And it was getting out of hand.
Who was paying for it? The mother-in-law, I bet.
The families were splitting.
Oh, even worse.
It was very
that's
complicated.
terrible.
And it's true that who is paying it does
At the end
affect
of the day,
decision-making power.
Yeah.
I started off with the bride, and I just acknowledged the situation and how complicated and awkward it was, but said ultimately we have to address this with her because this cannot continue, and we really have to face it head on. So
And what happened?
we had a very awkward conversation, but
All of you?
yes.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
You're giving me hives. I recognize
know, it was
this. Yeah.
super weird.
And was it better after that?
It was much better. It was much better.
Interesting.
I know every situation is so different and what our jobs require of us.
No
but
question.
sometimes they're like, we need you to, negotiate this situation
Prenup.
for us.
People ask me about prenups. I'm like,
And what do you
that's
say?
a different business.
That's
I would have gone
crazy.
to law school if I knew that this was a possibility.
Well, you are a lawyer and a therapist. and-
Everything. But also you're an engineer. I mean, the first time someone said to me, well, how many pounds do you think that this tent is going to hold for a chandelier? I was like, huh?
I know.
I was like, no. I plan parties. They're so pretty. Right?
What is the best way to calm down a bridezilla?
I have to think about that for
Okay,
a
I
second.
tell you, and I have never met someone who was a lovely human who became a bridezilla. I've met people who were difficult who became deranged during their wedding, But someone who is essentially everyone's nervous,
Yeah.
and they're not at their best or their nicest, but if it's a decent person, I try to remind them that there is life after this, but also I say, what do you want? Like, what are you looking for? Because they'll say, well, the client wanted that. I said, the client doesn't know what they want. The client wants to have a great party.
Right.
That's what they want.
Right.
And how we get there, that's our expertise to explain to them that I know you don't like mushrooms, but other people do, and we just won't serve you any. You're not
Right.
allergic to them, but this obsession with not having a mushroom anywhere is not
Well,
really what
not drug mushrooms.
No. Well, that's another story. That's a whole other story. But that is not really what you want. You're focusing, and I use this sentence all the time as if just, my mother used to work for me and I miss her terribly. But my mother always says, the emphasis is on the wrong syllable. You're focusing on something, but that's not really what you're thinking about.
And do people take that feedback?
Depends. Sometimes
Okay.
they fire me. No, I'm teasing. Or they're just, no, I said, listen, I'm just trying to help, and if you don't want to listen, that's fine. My job is to give you my expertise, but it's your wedding. At the end of the day, I am not, a dictator. It's your wedding. We will do as you wish. My job is to tell you the possibilities.
I mean, you don't have a pre-social media
Existence
point.
is true.
But how
yeah.
has social media changed the way that people think about their weddings? And also, how has Vogue changed, or coverage of weddings changed the way people think about or plan their weddings?
I think people are very aware of how they'll be perceived online. We have clients that want their phones locked. They don't want people posting in general, or even to be able to take pictures at the wedding period. It's privacy, maybe a little bit of paranoia, wanting people to be present, but just knowing that it will really live on. And I think there's a certain permanence to that versus just the disposable
No, you're
cameras
right.
and things.
It's a good, and a lot of these people are connected to. I mean, where did the money come from?
Yes.
It's a corporation. It may be a public corporation. They don't want stockholders to see that they spent, even if they're right about spending it, they made it. The excess.
Yes.
It looks inappropriate to someone who has $10 worth of.
Yes.
Or the
whatever.
inverse. They want
Or they
to show
they
that
want to
they're
show
having
that they have plenty.
extravagant-
You're right. Or they want to show that they have enough money to do this.
There's a certain, echelon of brides. And then I always find it very funny when we're working with a couple and they say, oh, so-and-so's wedding is coming up, we're going to be watching. And they're watching the stories of all the guests that they know are attending and thinking of it as, oh, this is my competition. It's fascinating.
Wow. Yeah. Obviously, most people can't afford a wedding planner. But for people who can, you hired a wedding planner and you got a dress with your mom at Kleinfeld's or Bergdorf's or whatever, and then you got married. And now there are wedding stylists. There are wedding publicists. There are
content creators. I just saw content
creators.
I was like, oh my
and
God.
Creative directors. I mean, it's wild. It's almost like billing for a film.
I couldn't agree more.
How do you work with all of these different vendors that have popped up, and how do you think they affect the overall experience? Marcy's being careful. I can see her thinking, choosing her words.
The stylists have been doing a really good job, and some of them are really talented and have found things where I wouldn't have thought of in a million years to put this woman in that, and they look fabulous. And it's, Armani Privé or something that I didn't even know where they got it at some atelier, and what I object to is 2 hours outside of the wedding in the middle of the wedding when all your guests are there and it's a photo shoot or things.
No.
Oh, yeah. It's not gracious. Everyone is, where's the couple? Where's the couple? But I mean, obviously, I'm old school. So we're very active on Instagram. It's not that, but I'm very specific about what we post and what we had to do with what we posted, not look at this beautiful woman. I didn't make that woman. Like the flowers are nice. We consulted on those. But I think, it comes down, if you are throwing this as your coming out party, which some people are, that's a different perspective.
Also, I mean, weddings now seem to almost inevitably be 2 or 3 days. I mean, there's many events. So it makes more sense that you have someone help you plan outfits for
no question
that entire wedding. I mean, I think about the embalming wedding. There were like
that was
14
insane.
Events over 4 continents.
And then there was a boat trip, I think,
exactly.
2 months before.
I loved that one. It was so funny. They're like, we got off the boat and the Backstreet Boys were performing. And then we got on the boat and NSYNC was performing.
I used to, because every time my client would say to me, don't you think this is a bit much? I was like, did you see the embalming wedding? You're going to be fine.
First of all, do you feel that people are doing more destination weddings? And are there any destinations that you feel like are overlooked that are great wedding venues?
Well, we're not going to tell you that.
Oh, right? You have to hire Marcy or Melissa.
There's a little bit of gatekeeping that's healthy.
Yeah, not vendors, right? But I really do think about destinations because, you were asking one of my Bridezilla stories. Many, many years ago, we did a wedding overseas, and she found out some other people were getting married there at the same month, and she went like ballistic and wanted me to call all the other wedding planners and make sure they wouldn't be anywhere near the same venues. I was like, well, I can't do that. They wound up making a map. It was like General Patton, with like little thumbtacks in it. Like, okay, she's going to be here then, and then well,
it's true. I mean, you definitely at this point, it's like, oh, if they're getting married in Lake Como. Okay. But it's so sad because Lake Como is so beautiful. And
they don't want us there anymore. I don't know about your experience. They were not very nice to us last time we were there. They've had enough.
They just
saved up enough money. They just want the Clooney's, right? Yeah. But the curfews are so early. They don't they don't want us there. People want to live there because it's beautiful. The same thing with the Hamptons. I mean, they'll put up with us, but it's not easy.
Melissa, what's the wedding planner stare?
Oh. If you're talking to a wedding planner and they have a headset in and they're kind of smiling and they're a little bit delayed, you're like, is something going on? Is something really bad happening? You're like, no, of course not.
They don't put me on that channel, by the way. My staff, I was like, are you on a separate channel?
The secret channel? Ooh, that's intense.
I was like, wait a minute, did something blow up? Yeah.
Hey, everyone, we need to go to channel 3 so Marcy
can't hear this.
Marcy
can't hear exactly. I was like,
it's amazing.
Don't do that.
What is a wedding trend that you wish would go away? Like food styling or decor?
I think trying to be too traditional with things. I think people can be afraid to branch out and make bold decisions. Maybe not our clients because I think they're a little zany and creative. I think being scared to branch out, that's one for us.
No, I agree with you. And conversely, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because my clients, I think, are similar to yours. They're creative, interesting people. I mean, people don't generally hire me for a, church and plaza wedding. Rarely. It would be actually silly because I'm expensive and you're paying for my brain power, not, that.
Sure.
But I think if someone says, we're not doing a first dance, or I'm not doing a father-daughter, mother-son, whatever, and I'm the same thing, well, why do you have to throw that out? Like, I understand I am not a traditionalist. I'm an old hippie. I get it. But your father's probably been waiting his whole life to have a dance with you. It's not going to kill you.
Maybe being a little bit too cool.
Yes, I guess that's
So
what I
it's
was getting
both.
at. So either side, yes,
Sure.
you're absolutely right.
Where our team is very divided on dogs at weddings, like wearing like a sign that says something like just
Yes,
married or
best
sort of
dog.
being involved in the wedding. Do you involve dogs?
My husband is a vet nurse. We are big animal people, animal rights people. I think the dogs are miserable. I don't really care. It's not, again, I'm not the morality police or the taste police. I'm like, that poor dog is suffering. He, all he does is see you down the aisle and like, where's my parents? Where's my parents? And like goes running and then like, who are all these people? I've never seen a dog, it's like a 6-month-old being, I was like, they're not enjoying
I mean, my
themselves.
dog couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, my dog would probably eat someone, but which is not good for business. So.
I think it's stressful and confusing. If you want to take photos, then
Yes,
you
agree.
hire a sitter and they can
Agree.
bring them in for a very short amount of time. Maybe they walk down the aisle and then they need to leave.
Exactly. Yes.
They can't stay for the ceremony.
No,
Yeah.
and to have to like fasten somebody to their collar, they're not happy.
No.
Yeah. We just got through our Super Bowl, our Met Gala, and the seating.
Oh, I didn't notice. Was there something at the Met? Yeah.
The seating chart is of utmost importance. A lot goes into it. Months are spent. Speaking of General Patton, it's like an enormous poster board under a cloak, basically, where sort of Sasha puts her head underneath to look at it. What are your seating rules? Do you? I think I'm rare in that I don't need to be seated with my
I
husband.
was about to say, well, you are raised, very European and American. No, it's true because in Europe, as you know, they'll never sit you next after the first year.
I just think it's odd. I mean, I
agree.
see my husband every
Right.
day.
I say the same thing.
But should it be someone you know? Can you seat with strangers? I like doing a mix. I just planned my mother's 80th birthday, and I had so many emails afterwards saying, thank you so much for seating me with so-and-so. I loved meeting them. I mean, some people are very upset if they're not seated with their partner.
We still talk about. I got married 2 years ago in St. Bart's. I had 14 people. My friends switched the place cards.
That,
at
to
dinner.
me, is a
I was
no-go.
apoplectic. I was like, "Are you people kidding?" I was like, "Do you think I just like haphazardly put?" I was there was a point here. I was going to spend a weekend together. I thought you'd get to. I couldn't believe it.
That's one of my big pet peeves. And
too.
actually, someone on my mom's birthday moved their place cards so that two women were next to each other who have a historic feud, and it was very uncomfortable for the person who was negotiating that between the two of them.
Yeah.
That's challenging.
We're in the dining room before the guests come in, and you see people. And I the party line is the host spent a lot of time doing this. Don't think that this was just the default position that you were seated with.
Right.
All the cousins. It was like someone thought that you would like that.
Yeah.
It's not haphazard.
Right.
And aside from the intentional connections, maybe you're trying to forge relationships or what have you, there are reasons that, we have this information, whether it be allergies or maybe meals are assigned. There's lots of different reasons why we need to know where you're seated. So it messes things up for us too.
How important are themes for weddings?
I like a theme. I mean, not necessarily for the wedding night, but I think the welcome party. If the welcome party is in, we've done everything from Roberta's Pizza to a fabulous bar downtown for a very fancy wedding, but the night before. So, maybe not, as I always say, we do a medieval theme. We don't want people coming in armor, but just a smidge of a theme,
would be fun.
Welcome to New York. I like to have a hook, something that, we can say there's a reason it's not just pretty. There's a reason everything makes sense.
Have you seen more mood boards for dress codes?
Oh boy.
I'm astounded by it. Every wedding now has a Pinterest board for the theme.
Guests, and it's for the guests.
Well, I mean, my mother was invited to a wedding recently at the Bel Air Hotel, and the dress code was formal. And she got a Pinterest board, and she replied to the wedding planner, what do they think I am, a moron?
I was going to say, do they know who your mother is? Like the most elegant woman in the yes.
I got that email shared via the planner
The
because
planner.
it was
It was hilarious. There's helpful, and then there's all the way to the right of that, which is rude. And then there are people. I mean, Kate and Kevin love. Kate had a strict rule, either black or white. But at the time, I was like, "Wow, that's intense." And the truth is, the photos are amazing. They look like from another era.
And did anyone not
No,
adhere?
they're scared of her.
Okay, good.
Me too. I would not. I would have sent them home or given them a dress.
You know what I really would like to see an end to? Black tie optional.
Oh my God. I call that the passive aggressive dress code.
I mean,
was like,
typically-
just say it. You
awful.
want people to wear black tie?
It's an
Just say it.
attack.
It's obnoxious.
Or like-
it was like, well, we really want you to wear this, but we don't have the nerve to say it. So I for years, and I
Well,
really, I go,
especially for men, I feel that half the men come in black tie and half come in a suit,
Don't
and
they-
both feel terrible.
feel stupid and terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think a specific dress code. I mean, we're writing
Commit
on
to black
something.
tie.
That's
Just
right.
commit to black
just
tie.
do it, or just say dark suits. You know,
I like when sometimes for Vogue events we just say dress up.
Right,
Like you're going to a Vogue event.
I
Just
remember,
dress up.
years ago we did a 50th birthday for some, TV personality, and we just wrote glamorous.
Yeah.
And, it was fun for people, right?
I think that when it's open-ended, it's good. Formal could be confusing, though.
Yeah.
Your mother obviously knows how to dress up, but some people actually
Don't know the
Yeah.
And we
formal. What does it
will-
mean? You're right.
It's difficult. Sometimes we'll have, on the website say, as some of you have inquired, we've linked a Pinterest board, should it be helpful?
Right.
And otherwise, some people will ask us. A lot of guests will ask because they feel insecure and they don't want to be
And
underdressed.
actually, if it's the bride's family or the groom's family, I'll give them my cell phone and I say, I know, because they don't want to piss off
Aw.
the other partner.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
feel so bad for them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like, why, this woman is so scared of her son's new wife. Like, I'll tell you what to wear without you having to ask her.
That's a really good example of things that we do
That nobody knows.
Right.
about. They would
These
not
kind
know,
of
right.
secret hand-holding that we do to support behind the scenes.
Because
Right.
anybody in this business, all of us, maybe I've met two over the years, we're really kind people who actually like people. Really, you wouldn't.
Well, I
you
think
would-
that's an essential
absolutely.
quality,
You
no?
couldn't stay in this if
Yeah.
you really didn't like people because they really make it hard.
What is your favorite wedding cake trend or flower trend right now? Or wedding dress trend? General trends that you're seeing, although I hate the word trend.
We did a birthday party last night for a dear client, and we used one of those very 8-foot long
The long ones.
cake that was decorated, and it was really fun when we brought it out, when we finally got it out of the kitchen and into the dining room. So
It's
I
like
think
Subway's foot
I
long
think that-
cookie.
exactly. So I really think it's fun. I mean, I'm obviously, I come out of a food background. I love a really frivolous, crazy dessert buffet with the cake as just, a piece of punctuation of that. So,
Yeah.
and we're doing tons of those, layers stacked in all different colors. And I think people love that. And I think we always like to get people up. Nobody
Right.
wants to sit more than, and then
Oh,
almost
so you
never.
get people up for dessert?
Yeah.
Okay.
People have had enough.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care
yeah.
if they're sitting next to the most fascinating person in the world.
Yeah.
they want to
So
get
it's 2 courses, appetizer, entree, up for dessert.
up for dessert.
I
Yep.
think that's best. And you can do cake cutting. Doesn't need to be announced. Have everyone dancing.
When are speeches?
That depends. If it were up to me, never. But that's not the choice, right? Well, yeah, and they're, again.
I like
it's-
when speeches are stacked opening night.
I agree.
like doing a heavy speech Friday, and then the wedding night, it's like just parents of, or,
I agree
So you're like
completely.
3 max.
And some of them should be, if there's a smaller rehearsal dinner, if everyone's going to make inside jokes,
Yeah.
where the rest of the
Keep it
guests are like,
inside.
what are you talking about?
Yes.
It's got to be at that intimate
Yeah.
dinner.
We're doing a wedding soon where they have so many friends that need to give speeches
Ugh.
that we're actually just completely leaning in. And on Friday night, there's a roast, we're calling it.
That's what it is.
So we've created a dinner theater experience where everyone is seated and the
a great
show
idea.
is actually
That-
all the
toasts.
speeches.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure for the guests, but good.
Yeah.
I think everyone's actually very nervous, and
Yeah.
they're all Hollywood writers and work in comedy. I'm actually very excited for these speeches.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds like a million years ago. We did J.J. Philbin and Mike Scher's wedding, and they were both writers on SNL. And those speeches, and I wish I could find it. I can't find it. There was a program of the speech. Seth Meyers was the best man, and we were just crying, all of
Yeah.
us. It was so hysterical. I think that's a great. I may plagiarize that idea. That's a good one.
I give you permission.
Thank you.
I think you just have to lean in. But to your point, I think stacking them on the first night and keeping it really light for the wedding is good.
What's your favorite cake or food trend of the moment?
Really over the top, dramatic cake displays.
I was just in LA for the Dior resort show, and they had a 900-person after party at the Chateau Marmont.
It was 900. I saw snippets. I didn't realize it
It's a
looked.
lot of people.
Yeah.
But they had a cake table that looked like it was out of Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. And they had real non-edible ribbons on the cakes, which I felt like if they actually were cutting the cake seemed like a hazard. But
Nobody was cutting the cake.
no.
because-
What is your favorite floral motif you've seen or used recently?
I'm actually seeing a lot of, topiary fruits and grapes and really Renaissance
Ooh, I love
things
that.
and less
Yeah.
floral, I think. And I like that a lot. 'Cause there's only so many things you can do with flowers, right?
Yeah.
We did a 1960s Palm Springs wedding a couple of years ago, which Vogue featured and was one of my favorites I've ever done.
Whose wedding was
and,
that?
Sophie Cohen's.
Okay.
And for some of the arrangements, we just had these Gerber daisies. Really simple,
Yeah.
classic.
So
we didn't
like pop
overdo
art
it.
almost,
Yes.
yeah.
The wedding food was Italian. It's very niche and nuanced, but all the flowers had different spaghetti names, if you knew.
That's clever.
cute.
Yeah.
It's very esoteric. Good for you.
Yes.
I'm curious what people should be spending money on and what they should be saving on for their weddings.
I think the guest experience is something that you really should invest in. Having extra staff.
Staff. I was just going to say staff every time. I would throw out all the flowers if I had to, given a choice, and get more waiters, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what people care about. I mean, at some point, you won't really remember what the flowers, we care and the bride
Of course,
cares,
and you want it
but-
beautiful, but there's beautiful, and then there's how much more beautiful, right?
But if someone's waiting for a drink or the bathrooms are dirty, these are things that we all recognize if we go to an event. So
I also think it's you sort of find one thing that you really care about personally. I mean, I'm saying as the bride, like I ordered really expensive tablecloths, Carolina Irving fabric that I loved, and I turned them into curtains.
it's beautiful.
And,
See that?
And they're great. And I have them as curtains, and then I use the extras as tablecloths now. But to me, having
the
those
children
in the
are wearing
photos,
little-
yes, exactly. It's a very Sound of Music. But yeah, so you choose the guest experience. That's a good one. Is there anything people often tend to spend on that then they don't appreciate?
Invitations, I think, and I hate to say that because we do beautiful invitations and they're not inexpensive, but you have to care about it.
Yes.
If it's just, something performative, or people come in and they say, I guess we have to have an after party. And I'm like, well, you go to sleep at 10 o'clock every night. Why do you have to have an
Yes.
after party?
Right.
So it really depends. They used to ask me incessantly, Brides Magazine, can you do a chart that says how much should be spent on each
Yeah.
piece? And I was like, no, I can't because it depends on the client. I only cared about the food and wine at my wedding,
Well, I wanted to ask you about that, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
But Marcy, what was it like being your own client? I feel like it's like hairdressers have to cut their own hair.
Well, the
because-
first time I got married, which I was starting my career, it was, we spent way too much on things, but it was great food and great wine. And we were in the restaurant business. La Côte Basque lent us their china. We used a lot of favors. This time I was like, I just want 4 days with my dear friends to have fun. And it was great. I mean, one
it was
of
in St.
Patricia
Bart's?
Voda, did my dress, one of, and it was fabulous, a short dress, and it was in St. Bart's. And basically, I just danced on tables and drank rosé for 4 days, which is really what I wanted to do. So
Fantastic.
I think I carried a carnation. I don't even know what it was. I refused. It was because once you start, you're like, because we know everything, right? So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm
You
not
know
doing
too
that.
much.
Yeah.
Are you, Mary Melissa?
I'm not married. It's a
Will you be planning your own wedding?
good question. Depends on who I marry, I guess.
I'll give you a business card just in case.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you
much
so
fun.
much
This was
for
such a
having
treat.
us.
Thank you.